Washington, D.C., the pair sat down for talks that Sakir described as long and productive. Speaking afterwards, the PM also said that he and the US president had reached a strong position regarding ending the conflict in Ukraine.
We've stood with Ukraine. Ukraine has a right to self-defence, and we've stood united, not just with our allies here in the US, but across with our NATO allies. That's very, very important to us. But today was about having the chance to talk not just about a particular step or tactic, but the strategy in relation to Ukraine. But also we cover the Middle East in some extensive detail, and other areas across the world. So it was a really important occasion for us to have this chance to discuss with our allies.
Meanwhile, back on home soil, more questions have been asked about the government's decision to cut winter fuel payments following a vote earlier this week. Figures released by the Department for Work and Pensions estimated that almost 800,000 pensioners will miss out on the benefit under the new plans. Of those set to lose the support, around two-thirds have a disability and 83% are aged 80 or over. Downing Street has said that a full impact assessment of the change has not yet taken place. Staying with politics now, and a rebellion could be brewing within the Labour Party following recent comments by the PM around a ban on smoking outdoors at pubs. Labour MP for Newcastle-upon-Tyne East and Wallsend, Mary Glindon, has tabled a motion in Parliament against her own party in order to try and block the potential plans. In the motion, she praised the indoor smoking ban of 2007, but said that extending the ban outdoors could unduly restrict individual liberty. Today is the first day of the Lib Dem party conference in Brighton, with the cost of living, defence and veterans, climate change and, crucially, their plan to fix the NHS as some of the topics on the agenda. The party won 72 seats in July's general election, their best ever result and more than 6 times the number they took in 2019. Speaking from the conference earlier, the deputy leader for the Scottish Liberal Democrats, Wendy Chamberlain, spoke about the need for parties to work together to tackle the broken NHS.
Without sorting social care, and we've been very clear that we are keen to work on a cross-party basis to solve it, because no matter what party is in power, social care as an issue is not going away. But if you don't sort social care, you're not going to fundamentally sort the problems within the NHS. Keir Starmer has said that fixing the NHS is a 10-year job. He won't be able to do that unless he keeps other parties on side so that we can all do that work together.
Later this afternoon, a rally is expected to take place in Glasgow, 10 years on from the Scottish independence referendum. Organised by Hope Over Fear, the event marks a decade since Scots took to the polls to vote on independence from the UK. The funeral of Olympic athlete Rebecca Cheptegei is taking place in her home country of Uganda this morning. The runner died earlier this month after she was doused with petrol and set alight by her former boyfriend. She'd recently returned from competing in the Paris Olympics when the attack took place. And today is the return of Strictly Come Dancing. The BBC show is back and celebrating its 20th year, but following a series of controversies, many will be watching to see how the show will handle allegations against some of the professional dancers. Just some of the famous faces appearing on the show this series include football pundit Paul Merson, singer Shane Ward, and Olympic gold medalists Tom Dean and Sam Quek. Those are your latest GB News headlines. More from me in the next hour. I'm Sophie Reaper. Now it's back to Ellie and Ben.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Sophie, and welcome to Saturday Morning Live with me, Ellie Costello, and Ben Leo. Now, we've got a treat for you right now because Season 8 of the hit Netflix show Selling Sunset has just dropped. And if you're like me and fans all around the world, you've wasted no time to binge the entire series in a very short space of time, lapping up the drama from the agents at the Oppenheim Group.
So, if you don't know at home, the show...
Like you didn't.
I didn't until this week. I absolutely love it now. And you'd be surprised, because typically it wouldn't be down my street, but I tuned in this week to obviously research Mary, of course, and I love it. So the show, if you don't know, it follows real estate agents in Los Angeles who work at one of the most luxurious and high-end agencies in America, selling anything from, well, $6 million apartments to $40 million mega mansions. But beyond flogging houses to the world's wealthiest people, Selling Sunset follows the trials and tribulations of Oppenheim's workforce of glam estate agents as they work hard and play harder in sun-drenched California.
Yeah, it's a great watch. We're delighted to be joined now by one of the leading stars and one of the top agents from the show, Vice President of the Oppenheim Group, Mary Bonet. Fresh from Los Angeles. Really good to see you this morning, Mary. Thank you so much for coming on. How is it being part of this global phenomenon, which is Selling Sunset?
It's fun. It's interesting. I mean, it's a lot of drama and exhausting at the same time because of all the craziness with the girls. But, I mean, there's so many opportunities. I just got to present at the NTAs, and we get so many just incredible opportunities. So it's been a ride, for sure.
So I just mentioned to you off air, it's typically reality TV is not kind of my bag, but I tuned in to Series 8 this week.
Yeah.
And the first 5 minutes I was thinking, yeah, I'm not too sure. Then I really got into it because it's not just kind of like reality TV following you guys around and all your storylines, which are fascinating, but the amazing properties I love. Some of the homes you're selling, $30 million mansions.
Yeah.
Just incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. We have some of the world's best real estate. It's so nice. And I'm lucky. I have a lot of great clients, a lot of great listings, and I've got actually a new one coming up. It's going to be different, though, this time. It's a 7,000-acre cattle ranch for $25 million. Yeah. So it's going to be very interesting. You can, like, develop on it and everything. So that's going to be really fun.
That is so exciting.
To do.
And I think in this series, it's so clear that you are the top agent at the brokerage. You are doing these selling these $25 million houses, $30 million houses as a standard at this point. Do you ever feel as though there could be some jealousy from other girls in the brokerage at just how successful you are? You are VP of the Oppenheim Group now, and that really does come across in the show.
Oh, well, yeah, thank you. I do think that it's very competitive.
Yeah.
So I don't want to say that the other girls are jealous, but it is very competitive. So sometimes it might be exaggerated that they're the top agent. I'm like, nah, it's public knowledge.
It's me.
It's actually factual, but you know, I think competition's good, friendly competition.
So one of your big rivals on the show is Chelsea, of course, who is another very good seller. I'd argue you're probably a bit better. But she's a Brit as well, isn't she?
Yes.
And you guys infamously haven't got on. There's always been friction there. An episode I saw this week, you were trying to kind of bridge the gap a bit and you opened up about your childhood and your upbringing. But still, that friction remains. What is it with you and Chelsea? Why didn't you get on? Is it maybe the English-US divide, a bit of cultural differences?
No, I used to live here. I love Brits. Well, except for my maybe ex, but no, I don't think so. I think she feels that way more than I do. We can be different and still get along. I've never really had a problem with her. I don't like something she says and does.
The house is actually sold in and amongst the outfits and the drama and the gossiping.
Yeah.
When is the work done? I sound like Jason
I work
now,
very long hours trying to get fitted in. But it's we get it done. It's just I think a lot of it's for camera too, like where we are all together. We have to be there. But otherwise, when we're not filming, we're not always in the office at the same time. I work from home a lot.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's a lot of fans that come up, and there's tour buses now that come by every like 3 minutes. Like there's tour buses, and then people get out, take selfies in front of the office, and so it's quite distracting.
Mary, can I ask quite an intrusive question? And you can tell me to mind my own business if you want. But when you sell a house, of course, it says at the bottom of the screen the commission that you guys earn. How much of that do you keep? How much goes to the company?
To Jason?
Yeah, to Jason.
Yeah. He's very rich. He's very rich. We have a certain split. He doesn't want us to say what it is, but he takes a nice little chunk of it. So would you still get paid a lot.
Would you ever go it alone then? Because you are the top agent at the Oppenheim Group. They've made you VP, probably to try and keep you there, but you could definitely go it alone at this point.
I could.
Go independent.
I could. I'm very loyal, and he's my best friend. And so, I don't know, maybe one day, but right now, I have no interest in leaving.
What about Selling Sunset UK? I know we don't have much sunshine, as you've probably experienced in your time here, but do you think you could branch out the series to the UK or anywhere else in Europe?
Didn't you guys have one?
Well, yeah, there was a Selling London. I was there, sorry. That'll be his next project I can introduce you to.
Yeah, I don't think
been picked up quite as much, no.
Yeah.
Do you know what I loved about this series in particular, Mary, with you, was your openness about your journey. I mean, you've mentioned it with your conversations with Chelsea. You've spoken about your trauma, about being a teenage mum, about being judged in the religious town that you grew up in.
Yeah.
And now you are the top agent of one of the biggest real estate companies in the US. What's that journey been like for you?
Well, I actually went into it in depth. I have a new book coming out, Selling Sunshine. It comes out September 24th. And I dive into it and say everything that has happened and how it's made me who I am. Because I've had a lot of things that have happened in my life, like sexual assault, domestic violence, I battle ADHD, which makes working very, very difficult. And so I go into a lot of fertility issues. I mean, you name it, I talk about it. But how I got through it and how to remain kind of positive and kind of how to put a spin on it. Like when you're going through stuff, everybody goes through stuff. And so how to just keep moving forward and remaining positive and successful. So, that's...
And you're such an inspiration because you were such a massive success story. You've taken, as you say, these trials and tribulations and just made such a success of yourself.
Thank you.
And I love the openness. You know, you speak about there's the ruptured breast implant wasn't there on the show.
Yeah.
Do you like being that open with viewers? Does that vulnerability ever scare you?
No, I don't really mind. The only thing that bothered me a little bit was when I had the miscarriage. And then you just want a moment just to grieve on your own, and the cameras are right there in your face.
And that was played out on screen?
Yeah. And
did you have a choice to reveal that?
When I left the doctor's office, they were supposed to be there to see the ultrasound. And so they were planning to be at my house to see the ultrasound when we got back, and I found out I miscarried. So Romain, obviously very protecting of me, and he was like, "You will not be there," and he put his foot down that they will not be there. I need a minute. But they arrived first thing in the morning. So we don't really get that long. And then when I lost my dog Nico this season,
I just saw the tease to that. So you were hugging Jason and crying. And I was thinking, what's happened there? And I was told you told me something else from the dog. But you've had many happy memories and appearances on screen as well. You got married as well.
Yeah. I got to share my wedding on the show, and that's one of the most magical things to be able to look back on. You know, you get to, any time I want, I can just go rewatch it, and it's such a beautiful wedding. It was craziness at the time, trying to make it happen, but it just turned out, I couldn't be happier. We've had so many good memories.
He is your rock, Romain.
He really is.
I mean, you really are a lovely couple.
Yeah.
And you've made no secret of the fact that you'd like a baby together. You talk about your fertility journey also in your book that is coming out at the end of September.
Yeah.
How is your fertility journey? How are things?
Not great. I have to have surgery. Part of the full body scan I did, I don't know if they have it here, Prenuvo. It's like you just go in, it's 1 hour, and it scans everything in your body. So I found out my uterus has a septum in the middle of it. So I've done in vitro, I've done, tried to do embryo and egg freezing and everything. And for years, paid lots of money for it. And I found out I can't do it without having it removed, which I was like, well, how did I have my son? They said it's basically a miracle. That I had him because I was so young, that my body was just able to somehow do it, and he must have just implanted it the perfect spot to make it happen.
Wow.
So it was 1 in a million chance that he would have survived. But so I have to have this surgery to remove the septum and then start going through.
Are you booked in for that surgery?
I'm not yet. I'm trying to finish doing all of this promotion
Got a lot
stuff
on your
and get
plate.
through. I figure the stress from the show and all the press and traveling and stuff probably not good for.
And just remind us, how old were you
when
you had your first son?
I was 15 when I got pregnant, 16 when I gave birth.
And you, in the scene I was talking about with you off air, when you sit down with Chelsea and you try and sort of work out your differences, you touched on the fact you had a child so young and the challenges that brought you. Could you just tell us more about that and why it was such an obvious struggle having a kid at 15?
Yeah, well, I was a child, raising a child, and, from Indiana. It's a very religious and very small town. My dad was my teacher at this tiny little school, and, it really put shame on my family. I was judged, really bad. Like it was pretty brutal. Parents would just like wouldn't want their kids to really be around me because I was that girl, and it was just it was hard. Every place I would go with this baby, people are like rolling their eyes, and so I was judged from a very, very young age, and it made me very sensitive to it. And so that's something that why I started crying with Chelsea was because I don't judge people. Like I would never ever make someone else feel like that because I've been there. I've been through it, and it's terrible.
Are you proud of yourself, knowing what you've gone through and the challenges and seeing where you are now? Do you ever take a moment to sort of sit back and think, I've done all right. I'm doing well.
I have after this book, because there's a letter to myself that I wrote, and I still can't get through it without crying, because it really I think everybody should do it. Like, do a letter to yourself, like whatever age, like that you think you like would give yourself advice, because it really does. While doing that, you automatically come to the realization of like, wow. Like, and it just impacts you so much. Like, I'm very, very proud of myself. I still have a long way to go. I'm a very persistent kind of person, and I'm like, I want to conquer the world. I want to build an empire.
So
and
what's
so I've
next
got a
for you?
lot more to do.
What else do you want to achieve then? Because you've already done so much.
But after this book, I actually have something coming up, a sunglasses and optical line capsule line that's going to be coming out, because I'm obsessed with sunglasses. and there's always something I would tweak on them. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to make my own. So I'm doing that. So I'll start putting that out there once they're ready. And then, I don't know, the world's my oyster.
Well, the world is your oyster.
It certainly is. Mo Bonet, it is an honour to meet you. Privilege, and now we're both big fans, aren't we, Ben?
Definitely, yeah.
Thanks
Just
very
a
much.
quick question.
Yeah.
I've obviously just tuned in from Series 8. Do I need to go back to Series 1?
I mean,
Or can I just carry on where I am?
You should. Then you'll get background. I think season 8, I think it really starts diving into different layers of all of us. Like where you get an entry kind of idea of who we are, what's going on, and like a backstory. But I think season 8 really starts peeling back the layers. And I think it's our best season yet.
And why do you think the show
agree.
is so successful? What is it, do you reckon? What's the secret?
I don't know what the secret sauce is. I mean, because there's a lot of people that have tried to do it. I mean, there's a lot of reality shows, and they're good, but they don't make it. They always get cut. And I don't know. I don't know.
For me, I think it's the real estate, and I think the talent at what you do. That's what makes it different. There's so many reality TV shows where you don't actually see the talent and the work that goes in. I think that's what makes it different.
That's good to know.
You see, it's your day job as well. Just before we let you go, because we need to get to a break.
Yeah.
Is there going to be a Series 9 of Selling Sunset? Surely there's got to be.
Nothing's been absolutely confirmed yet, but I'm going to say it is 99%. It's going to, because we just got like #1 reality show in the world. So
because there's some stories doing the rounds even yesterday saying that you guys have been arguing so much backstage, and there's a massive feud that Series 9 is at risk.
Oh, is it? Well, it's at risk every year. Every season, everyone's like, I'm not going to come back. I'm not going to deal with this. And then everybody does. So we'll see. I mean, but I think there's going to be a season 9. Maybe we'll have 2 new cast members. Maybe all the same people will come back. Who knows?
Same people,
It's
same
hard to
drama.
say.
Well, we hope it comes back, Mo Bonet.
I'll be back.
Brilliant to meet you.
Thanks,
Thank
Mary.
you so much. Let us know what you think of that. GBNews.com/your say.
OK, still to come, was Donald trumped in the first televised debate with Kamala Harris?
And next, are you missing out on vital sleep? Our next guest, Dr. Shah, will be here with some hot tips. We'll be back in 3.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
If you want your news to be straight talking...
This is the nightmare for the Conservatives again.
Down to earth.
It's not just Nottingham where this is happening, is it?
And most importantly, honest.
Hard-working, middle-class taxpayers, they'll get the book thrown at them.
Then catch me, Martin Daubney, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Fatima's UK campaign. Children and young people matter, because I actually run a campaign, and my ministry today is about looking after children in the care system and improving their life outcomes. You know, for me, I had a difficult start to my childhood, and I will never forget it. I mean, I always say I may have left the care system, but the care system hasn't left me. And I instantly understand the importance of giving our young children and young people the opportunity to also, you know, have good life outcomes. So Fatima's UK campaign is all about that. And it's a summit next year. Eamon, I hope you're going to come.
No, and we've talked about this before, and certainly, I mean, I believe in what you're doing. I think it's marvellous what you're doing, and that's why, you know, when you think about children, and children are so close to you, and you look at that horror that happened in Southport yesterday, I mean, things like that
exactly.
will really hit home hard.
Well, children are the innocent ones, aren't they, Eamon? And this is what we look at when you think they're the future. We've got to start to put them back at the top. And it's a travesty when we see things like that, you know, Omar, that happen. You know, children are the ones that are impacted. And, you know, it's, for me, you know, really important to be able to do the best we can and looking after their future. And so hopefully, you know, I'm going to the Pyrenees in September, Eamon. That's my next challenge, the Bay of Biscay, from France to Spain and back. And hopefully people can go online, fatimascampaign.com, and give generously to help make a difference to these young people's lives. Because, as I say, children are the future.
GB News, the People's Channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
Hello, welcome back. 10:25, Ben and Ellie with you on Saturday morning live. Don't forget to keep sending us your questions and views on today's show, gbnews.com/yoursay. But first, how's your sleep?
Bad. It always is, it seems. How was yours?
A bit hit and miss. Sometimes, if I'm working early in the morning, i.e. today, I go and sleep in the cabin in the garden so the kids don't wake me up.
Oh,
got a little mattress on the floor.
That's a really good way of getting around it, actually.
Yeah.
But I feel, as Brits, we're very bad at getting sleep. And it's actually official now. Because the clocks are changing, the days are getting shorter again, you might have noticed outside. But research suggests that we might want to consider what this means for our bedtime.
The Sleep Report 2024 is based on a comprehensive survey conducted all across the country. And the report found that over half the population, get this, falls short of the recommended 7+ hours of required sleep each night. And shockingly, 1 in 4 of us is getting 5 hours or less, and that includes you, doesn't it?
Yes, I'm very bad at sleep. 4 or 5, I'd say.
That's
awful. A bit like
awful.
Maggie Thatcher. What would you get on average?
I'd say at least 6. 7 probably average.
That's probably not good. I think you probably need 8. Well, almost half of Brits rate their sleep quality as 5 out of 10 or lower. It's not good, is it?
Not good. Not good. Dr. Manesh Shah and Dr. Sita Shah joins us now to tell us all about the sleep and how Brits are struggling. Good morning to you both.
Morning.
First question is to you both. How many hours do you both get?
God, I think it varies. I try and hit that 7 hours of sleep. Yeah, but it tends to vary day to day.
Yeah, probably the same. My wife will probably say too much.
So what is the story behind all of this? Why are Brits so bad at getting sleep, especially in terms of hours? 4 or 5 hours for me, 6 hours for you. It's the same for everybody out there in the UK. We're just not going to bed early enough. Is it as simple as that? Or is it slightly more complicated?
Yeah, so I think the key is to establish a good routine. So waking up at the same time every day, making sure that you're going to sleep at the same time every day, and being quite sort of rigid and strict with yourself when it comes to those timings.
And also, it's not just the length of, I get, say, 7 hours, it's the quality, isn't it? You've got different phases of sleep. Just explain those. Is it, as far as I remember, REM, deep sleep? Just tell us about that.
Correct, yeah. So essentially there's 4 stages to sleep. So there's stage 1 and stage 2, which are your lighter stages of sleep. And then stage 3 is your deeper sleep. And then you've got the stage 4, which is your REM. Which is a rapid eye movement stage. And it's the stage 3 and the REM sleep, which is really, really important for restorative and regenerative sleep.
And what are the health implications, Dr. Sita, if you have a lack of sleep over a long period of time? Because it's not good for you, is it?
No, of course. So, for example, your day-to-day functioning can really be impacted, your recall, it can affect your energy levels, but also on a long-term basis, it can really impact your health in terms of it can lead to type 2 diabetes, heart disease, it increases your blood pressure, and also it has a massive impact on mental health. So we see, you know, a large number of people then developing anxiety, depression.
But then some people would say, I can't sleep because I have anxiety or because I'm worried about things in the day, so it's kind of a vicious cycle, no?
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess stress is something we can't necessarily get away from, but there are a number of things that we could do to help with
Come on in,
stress.
top tips.
So one thing is, and this was found in the survey, is that Brits really like to read before sleeping. That really de-stresses them.
I need to get better at that.
Yeah. Other tips are also doing things that you enjoy during the day, exercising, watching a good movie if you've got a chance, going for a lunchtime walk as well, and also doing things like breathing exercises, meditation, anything that relaxes you and increases what's called the vagus nerve activation, which is what helps us to rest, relax, and hopefully fall asleep.
The vagus nerve?
Vagus nerve, that's correct.
Sounds quite good, doesn't it? How damaging, on that note, are these things, our phones in the bedroom? I mean, that doesn't help us get our sleep, does it?
Absolutely. I think there's a number of things that the phones do to us. Firstly, they're a massive distraction, so we're always reaching for it, looking for the next thing to look up. But then there's also the massive factor of blue light radiation from screens, laptops, TVs, phones, everything. And what the blue light does is it essentially mimics daylight. And what that does is it limits something called melatonin, a hormone that's produced in our brain and in our gut, which essentially helps us to relax and get the body ready to sleep. So if we're suppressing that, then, of course, what's going to happen is we're going to find it difficult to sleep. We're going to wake up in the morning feeling less refreshed. And that's what the survey found as well, is that 2 in 5 Brits are waking up feeling unrefreshed.
Would you recommend melatonin supplementation? Because I bought some the other month. There was there's a trio, isn't there? There's a trio of supplements you can take. Melatonin, is it zinc as well?
Yeah, and probably magnesium.
Does that stuff work, or is it all a bit of a placebo?
So, so I think we have to look at it as a whole and try different things. So, for example, taking supplements can work, also making sure that you're using the right sleep products as well. So Panda have their whole hypoallergenic range, which is all ethical, sustainable, which can really help as well in getting that good quality sleep too.
And there's something about the weather as well, isn't there? Seasonal differences actually affect how much sleep we get and the quality of sleep. What's the science behind that?
Absolutely. So when we wake up, ideally to the sunlight, we have a burst of something called cortisol, which helps us to have that get up and go sort of feeling. And then gradually that kind of goes down as the day goes on, and your melatonin starts to go up, which is what makes you feel sleepy and tired. But when the winter comes along, it's a little bit difficult because all of a sudden we're having to get up to go to work when it's still dark.
Yes.
And you say, I still want to sleep.
Yeah, it's awful, isn't it? That happened to me this morning, awful.
Yeah, and then when you get back, in the later on in the evening, it's already dark. You want to go to sleep. You might already be working. You'll be exposed to all the lights around you, and that further suppresses your melatonin. And this can really disrupt your sleep cycle. But again, there are things you can do. You have things like blue light filters, blue light glasses, red lighting in the house as well to help with sleep. And in the morning, you can also use light therapy as well to hopefully help give you that boost.
Yeah, I've seen, that billionaire guy who tries to defy aging, is it Brian Johnson? He has one of those lamps in the morning, which I think mimics the sunlight. I don't know if they work, but I think that's probably the worst thing about Britain is our savage winters, where you wake up, it's dark and cold, you go to work, you come home, it's dark and cold, you never see the sunlight.
There's nothing worse, is there? But really good to meet you both
Thank
and
you
to
so
make
much.
sense of that sleep report for us, because it is bad, but there's something that can be done, and that's the message. So
Yes.
thank you so much, Dr. Mahisha and Dr. Sita Shah. Really
Blackout,
good to see you
blackout
both.
blinds as well.
Blackout blinds, yeah. And I do think
Definitely.
a fan or a heater in the room just to kind of stabilise the
Yeah.
temperature, just help.
And just to note, if anybody would like more information, then they can go to our website, which is www.thegreendoctor.uk, and our Instagram page as well, at @thegreendoctor_UK for any health-related questions.
Excellent, thank
Brilliant
you.
stuff.
And if you've got kids, don't worry about it. You're stuffed, regardless. You're stuffed.
Do stay with us. Still to come, we're going to be diving into the true crime world and hearing why it's so much more, than murder recreations and dramatic courtroom showdowns.
But next, has the first presidential TV debates made any difference to the support for Team Trump and Team Harris in America? Nelson Aspen has the latest in just a tick.
Morning, welcome to your latest weather update from the Met Office here on GB News. It is slowly going to get a bit milder through the weekend, but it's certainly a bit chilly out there again this morning across England and Wales. Not quite as cold as recent mornings for Scotland and Northern Ireland. More cloud here, quite a grey start. There's some patchy rain and drizzle here and there, particularly over southwest Scotland and over the hills and mountains further north. The rain's going to pep up across the far northwest come this afternoon. For the bulk of England and Wales, though, it's a good-looking day. Any early morning mist soon disappearing, and then dry and bright with some decent spells of sunshine. And yes, a bit cool right now, but temperatures by this afternoon close to average in the high teens for most places. The wet and windy weather, though, will continue across western Scotland through the late afternoon into the evening. Some pretty soggy conditions to end the day here. Much of the far northeast of Scotland, though, staying dry and fine. By this evening, that rain will be heading its way through the central belt as well and spreading across Northern Ireland, although still at this stage probably dry in Belfast, but some rain edging in here during this evening. For most of England and Wales, it's a fine day with generally sunny spells throughout. Clear skies this evening will again allow things to turn a bit cool across the south, but the rain will continue to trickle its way across Northern Ireland into southern Scotland, and then things turning damp across northwest England, parts of North Wales seeing a bit of rain overnight, and showers will then come into the far north of Scotland. Staying quite blustery here, gusty winds here through the day and through the night. As I mentioned, still quite cool in the south. That's where we'll see temperatures dipping down to single figures. But by and large, another fine day for East Anglia, the Midlands and southern England tomorrow. A different day, though, for Cumbria. The Lake District looking pretty soggy for much of Sunday. Some heavy bursts of rain. That rain at times getting into North Wales and maybe slipping further south come the afternoon to parts of Lancashire. A little bit of rain getting to the east of the Pennines, but generally drier here, and some sunny spells in southern Scotland, staying gusty with more showers across northern Scotland.
Good afternoon, Britain.
Your lunchtime update on the stories that matter across the UK.
From breaking news and insightful analysis, inspiring stories and lively debates. You're comparing yourself to a former Prime Minister.
Which is it? Stay informed, stay updated, stay entertained. I just don't know how anyone would not want to be there.
Every weekday from midday.
We are Good Afternoon Britain, only on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Welcome to State of the Nation, daily plunge into the stories shaping our country. I'm Jacob Rees-Mogg, and Monday to Thursday we bring you the insights, the facts, the truth about how our country is being governed. Because what happens in Downing Street matters down your street. Tune in to State of the Nation every Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome back. Let's go stateside, shall we? Where Trump and Harris, Donald Trump and Kamala Harris, are locked in a tight race for keys to the White House. And just how well did each of them fare in the debate earlier this week? Well, the polls are pretty neck and neck.
Well, to tell us more, we're delighted to be joined now by journalist and author Nelson Aspen, live from New York. As always, Nelson, really good to see you this morning. And before we get into this week's debate, because I know there's a lot to unpack there, I wanted to actually start with the comments from the Pope. Have you heard these, Ben?
No.
So he's criticised both Kamala Harris and Donald Trump and told Catholic Americans to vote for the lesser of two evils. But he hasn't said which one that is, Nelson. What do you make of these comments from the Pope?
Well, I think it's highly unusual for the Pope to be weighing in on this. But of course, two of the top issues that we're facing are abortion rights and also the migrant and immigration issues. So depending on which issue is more important to you, that's how you're going to look at the Pope's comments, you know. So I don't know, perception is everything. That seems to be the case in everything we're dealing with here. It may not be politically correct to address some of these issues, but it doesn't mean it's not correct. Just because it's not politically correct doesn't mean it isn't correct. And perception is everything. Our politicians can tell us that crime statistics prove that crime is down. But that's not the case if you don't feel safe. We're living in a world now where we don't feel safe. And we're looking for the kind of leadership that can bring that feeling of security back to us.
Same with inflation. They say, oh, inflation's back down to target levels, but it's like, well, it doesn't feel like that in the supermarket. My, box of cereal is still a couple of quid more expensive. Anyway, let's get to the debate. That was the big talking point of the week. Who won? And actually, does it matter who won? Because would it, move the needle either way?
It was great entertainment. Speaking of reality shows, I know that's part of your theme today is to talk to you about the reality shows, and this was the ultimate reality show for sure. It was great, sometimes cringeworthy, but nonetheless great entertainment. But if you wanted to determine a winner, you would have to say that Kamala Harris came away as the more polished, well-spoken candidate up on the stage. But that doesn't mean that the needle moved whatsoever. As you said, the polls reflect the fact that the race is neck and neck. And as far as Donald Trump, he was his classic Trumpian self. What was interesting was how he has managed so far to pretty much maintain a statesman-like attitude. But Kamala Harris, in using her skills as a prosecutor, former prosecutor, she did put out a lot of tantalizing moments, and Donald Trump seemed to take the bait every time. I think the fact that Donald has been so gagged in the press by all of his criminal accusations and cases, he was just so...
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in, they're eating the cats.
Sorry, Nelson, we ambushed you with that. We got a bit trigger happy.
The dogs, the cats.
The dogs, the cats.
Well, let's speak about that moment, because that was one of the most bonkers moments of the entire debate. What did you make of that?
It seemed to come out of left field. Yeah. I think even Kamala Harris was surprised when you saw her reaction. That it was something like out of a pantomime comedy, the way she reacted to that comment. However, while it has been debunked that the migrants are eating the house pets, that again is a case of perception. Our cities are so overwhelmed with an influx of migrants that there is an uptick in crime. There is an uptick in the feeling, and feelings do matter. And that's what's going to determine this election. Trump undeniably would take the country more to the right. Kamala Harris very undeniably would take the country more to the left, no matter what she says about trying to float into the middle. But it is that middle. It's hard to imagine that there would be undecided voters, but there are. There are the people in the middle looking for a candidate who will bring us into the middle and not to these extremes that we're experiencing.
Nelson, you said that the cat and dog thing had been debunked. I'd argue not totally, because there are clips and even police body cam reports doing the rounds online of I'm not sure if they're migrants necessarily, Haitian migrants in Springfield, Ohio, but there was definitely one police body cam clip I saw, pretty grim actually, of a woman eating a cat in Springfield, Ohio, and being arrested for it. So don't know what's going on there. Maybe Trump was told that by his advisors and that's why he went with it. But the bigger talking point with Springfield, Ohio is the fact that 60,000 people live there in this small town, and the government has teleported 20,000 Haitian migrants into the community. And there are community tensions there. I mean, what's that in maths? 25%, a quarter? A quarter of the population is now migrants. So all sorts of questions about that. So I'd argue not totally debunked, but I do agree in the way that when Trump was saying they're eating the cats and the dogs was clipped up, that 10, 15 seconds wasn't helpful.
Correct, but that is the feeling that we're experiencing. Hey, I live in New York City. You don't have to tell me about influx of people. They're coming in by the busload, and that's just the state of America. It's the state of a lot of places around the world here. And the bottom line is people want to feel safe. They do feel it in their pocketbook, and yes, there are plenty of issues that are important to people, some more than others. But the bottom line, I think, overall, is who is going to protect us.
Nelson, talking about these undecided voters, we also, a big news story this week was Taylor Swift's endorsement of Kamala Harris. How much of a difference, if anything, would that make to undecided voters in the US?
It makes absolutely no difference to me. I don't care who Celine Dion is voting for. I don't care who George Clooney is voting for. But Taylor Swift does present and possess influence over a large swath of people. You have to look no further than the concerts. She was just in your country, and people went bananas and lined up and paid a fortune just to go to the concert. I don't know that you care about her political persuasion, but for better or worse, a lot of people do. So it is a little worrisome. Excuse me. Kamala Harris has decided she's going to have a sit down with Oprah Winfrey. I don't care about Oprah Winfrey's political persuasions either, but a lot of people do. And it's a voice. So, Taylor Swift's opinion counts.
Yeah, it can't have done her any harm. We can agree on that. Well, Nelson Asman, thank you. I think it's around 8 weeks until the election. I am absolutely here for it, buzzing, can't wait. Although that said, I was buzzing for the debate and it was kind of a bit of a damp squib, so I hope election night's a bit more exciting.
Oh, Nelson, just before we let you go...
Keep an eye on your pussycat.
Yeah, just before we let you go, will there be a second debate between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump, do you think? Because he's ruled it out so far. Do you think he could come back on his word?
He has ruled it out, but he loves to talk and he loves a platform, and I think he would like to maybe craft some revenge against Kamala for doing so well in that first debate and really call her on some of the inadequacies, because she was very strong on style, less so on substance.
OK, Nelson Asman, live stateside. Thank you very much for joining us once again.
Thank you. I think that is a really good point that Nelson Asman just made there, because Kamala Harris did well at ruffling Donald Trump's feathers. But actually, if Donald Trump had stayed on message, talked about the economy, talked about inflation, talked about immigration, and stayed on message, he might have had a different result on the night.
He walked right into her
it, didn't it?
She was saying, if you go to Donald Trump's rallies, the one thing you'll notice is people walking out because it's so boring, and you could see that just riled.
Well, he's obsessed with rally sizes, isn't he?
And also, when Kamala was asked, I think the moderator said, you've been in office for 3 or 4 years. Do you think people feel better off now or 4 years ago? And without even answering it, she just said, I grew up in a middle-class household, blah, 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 and just didn't answer the question. So,
Well, let us know what you made of that debate. Is it too early to call who will win the presidency? Do let us know what you think. gbnews.com/yoursay.
I think she'll win it.
Do you?
She'll win it, yeah. Anyway,
it's a long time to go. 8 weeks in politics, it's a long time.
8 weeks, yeah. Who knows what surprises we have in store. Anyway, coming back to this side of the pond now, we'll be diving into the world of true crime and hearing why it's so much more than murder, recreations and dramatic courtroom showdowns. This is Saturday Morning Live on GB News. Back in a tick.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
With record temperatures expected this week, how do zoos keep their cooler creatures cold? Well, at Yorkshire Wildlife Park, the polar bears are enjoying a vegetable ice block.
Polar bears, they do have quite a variety of different temperatures that they naturally do find. Once they're moving off these polar ice caps, they are in the likes of down in the areas of Canada, Hudson Bay. Naturally, they were finding polar bears in 35-degree temperatures year upon year. So they are very much used to warm temperatures and heat waves as such. What you'll tend to find is they'll go for a good swim and then go for a snooze in the shade thereafter.
Not wanting to miss out, the sea lions are treated to a huge fish lolly.
In the hot weather
whether it's really important to give them ice, because these guys, they don't drink salt water. These pools are actually saltwater pools. They actually drink fresh water. They've got 2 freshwater pools in their house, but again, being able to provide that in their outside enclosure is also really important. So offering them ice with their fish is not only enriching, but it's actually beneficial to their welfare as well.
Other animals like the lemurs will be basking in the sun, but also cooling down with frozen sweet potato.
So we've got 3 different species of lemur here. They come in all different shapes, colours, sizes, but they are native to Madagascar. Madagascar can get quite hot, understandably, so throughout the cold months here in Yorkshire, we do give them a nice heated house all year round, but especially making sure it's nice and warm in the winter for them. And it does mean that in the hot spells as well that we're able to keep our eyes on them and try and give them things that make them a bit more comfortable with that incoming hot weather as well.
The frozen food on offer here certainly has the seal of approval on what could be the hottest day of the year.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Neil Oliver, every Sunday night at 6 p.m. on GB News. And if an hour is not nearly enough for you, go to gbnews.com for special extended episodes online every Friday at 9 p.m, where we can truly get into the nitty-gritty of what's going on. GB News, Britain's news channel.
Now, do you like true crime?
Yes, I'm from Brighton, where Peter James, top crime author, whose books are loosely based on true stories, is very popular, and I like his books.
Oh, good, yeah. So I listen to a lot of true crime podcasts, and I watch a lot of true crime series on Netflix. And
so just explain, what is true crime exactly?
So it's crime that's happened, so it's real life, true crime life, but it's often recreations of those murders or those crimes.
Yeah.
And we also see kind of recreations of dramatic courtroom showdowns as well. So it's telling the story of that crime, and sometimes they're solved, sometimes they're not. But from the latest cases to the latest scientific techniques, the newest TV shows and docs, and some of the most listened to podcasts in the world, true crime is everywhere.
Yep, and next weekend, CrimeCon UK takes place in London. And joining us now to tell us more about that event and the true crime phenomena is former detective Stephen. How do you pronounce your surname? Keogh. Sorry, Stephen.
That's all right.
I should have checked you before.
No worries.
And Nancy, and again, Nancy, what's your surname?
Bourne.
Bourne, thank you. I'm showing my ignorance there, but thank you both for joining us. So, true crime, it's exploding, isn't it, Nancy? Why is it so popular?
It's always been popular, but it's become extremely mainstream. It's that whole want and passion for wanting to know why things happen, that puzzle solving feeling that we all get. It isn't CrimeCon, macabre and sensationalist. And I think this is where you have to get the balance right. It is that fascination for wanting to know the whys and the hows, really.
Why does it capture the public imagination so much, and specifically women? Because it's women that are binging these podcasts and these series so very much, isn't it, Nancy?
It is. I mean, women in the main will come to CrimeCon. We see the majority of our audience are female, 25 to sort of 45. And there's a lot of theory behind this. We want to feel safe. We want to learn. Women do over-index as victims of crime, so we want to make sure that we don't get ourselves in those situations, if you like. But as we've developed CrimeCon in the last 4 years, we are seeing more wider communities come. Women are dragging their husbands and they're realising they actually also enjoy true crime.
So, Stephen, you're a former top cop. Hope you don't mind me describing you as that. At CrimeCon and other events like that, do you get into sort of the semantics of the investigations and, you know, how, for example, how I was watching something the other night where somebody was unfortunately murdered, but you saw the crime scene investigators trying to work out from which side the person was attacked from. Did the knife come from the left-hand side or the right-hand side? Is it all that kind of stuff?
So for me, everything I've done since I've left the police is about sharing that knowledge of investigations, because if you watch TV, they get it wrong a lot. So what we try and do, I'm not the only police officer there, there's experts, of forensic scientists, psychologists, all from that investigative world. just trying to get across, well, actually, this is how it's really done. This is what we do, not what you're going to see on telly. And I think that's really important. So for me personally, coming along to CrimeCon, I just look at the list of people that are there, honestly, and I'm proud to be associated with them. There are some fascinating people there. People who've really fought for justice for their children. People who are campaigning for victims, for survivors. So it's an event that when you look at the name, you might think, oh, they're just going to sit there talking about serial killers and what they got up to. Couldn't be further from the truth. It's really about what goes on, how it impacts the victims, how the investigations are carried out. It's educational as much as anything.
Amazing.
So how does it actually work, CrimeCon? How does it work as an event?
What is the experience?
Yes,
so
what is the experience?
It's a ticketed event, and you come and you are... CrimeCon's your journey, basically. So you decide whether you're going to go into a forensic analysis deep dive, or listen to a mother's personal story, or go and meet the content creators about how they make their podcast that you've mentioned. You decide what you want to do, and then there's basically 70 speakers, the likes of Stephen Keogh, but family members as well. And they come and they share their stories through panel discussions, and then as an audience member, you then get to meet Steve, have a chat with him, deep dive. The experts don't go anywhere, they're there all weekend. And the one thing that's really struck me with this event, moreover than anything else I do, is the fact that we've built this community where they all want to share and they all want to help. There's a lot of unsolved cases, and people really want to see justice.
And see justice.
That's
We've got
it.
30 seconds left. If people are interested in going, how can they get tickets?
Go to the website crimecon.co.uk. It's next weekend, and if you're interested in crime and wants to not be macabre, then we are your people.
Nancy,
thank you.
Steve, thank you so much for joining us. Sounds amazing.
Great to meet you both. Do stay with us. We're going to be going through the showbiz with Steph Tetchy next.
Looks like things are heating up. Boxed boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, good morning and welcome to your GB News weather update brought to you by the Met Office. Well, there's a bit of a split in the weather for Saturday. Unsettled in the north, but elsewhere lots of fine and dry weather around, and it is going to be feeling warm where you catch the sunshine too. And the reason for this split in the weather is that we've got high pressure dominating the south but low pressure in the north. And notice the squeeze in the isobars, which means some blustery conditions too. So in northern areas, Northern Ireland, western parts of Scotland, we've got this band of rain slowly edging its way eastwards with very blustery winds behind it, and likely to see some heavier downpours on that band of rain too. But elsewhere, lots of fine, dry weather around, plenty of sunny spells, and as I say, feeling warm where you do catch the sunshine, particularly in the south and southeast. Now, as we head into the evening, we are going to continue to see that band of rain slowly move its way southeastwards across the country. So fairly cloudy with some damp weather around for Scotland. And as I say, those blustery winds continuing, particularly in the northwest where there is a risk of some coastal gales. Some cloudier conditions moving into the Scottish borders, but elsewhere, just before the sun goes down, plenty of late evening sunshine to end the day. But as soon as that sun goes down, it is going to be feeling chilly, particularly across the south where we could see some spots of grass frost overnight. That band of rain is going to edge into northern areas, so cloudy and damp here, and eventually the winds are going to ease in the northwest, but plenty of blustery showers by the time we reach Sunday morning. So chilly in the south, as I say, there is a chance we could see some grass frost in rural spots, but generally milder to the north of that main band of rain. So for the second half of the weekend, we've essentially got three areas of weather. We've got plenty of sunny spells and showers moving their way into Scotland. These could be heavy with some hail and thunder at times. We've got a band of rain across the north, and in the south, still plenty of fine and dry weather, though likely a bit more cloud around compared to today.
That warm feeling inside from Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Westminster needs. That's the Camilla Tominey Show at 9:30 every Sunday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi there, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and I'm going to take a second to tell you all about my show, Dubes & Co. We start off with the issues of the day. We then bring in both sides of the arguments. We get rid of the disrespect And then you throw me into the mix, and trust me, I'll tell it exactly how it is. And then, of course, the magic ingredient, you at home. We mix it all together, and what have we got? In my opinion, the best debate show in town. Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Are the newspapers getting you down?
My wife didn't divorce me that month.
Struggling to separate the wheat from the chaff?
I know that it's a bit of a circus at the best of times.
Well, don't worry, Headliners has got you covered. We'll take the burden of reading the day's news, and if we get depressed, who cares? It's an occupational hazard, frankly. That's Headliners on GB News from 11 p.m. till midnight, and the following morning, 5 till 6 a.m. on GB News, the comedy channel. Nah, just kidding. Britain's news channel.
Oh dear, good morning. I'm Ellie Costello alongside Ben Leo, and this is Saturday Morning Live.
Very good morning to you. Thank you for joining us for this second hour. We've got an action-packed show in store. All of the day's top stories with today, Danny Crates and Nicola McLean.
Diamonds are forever. Holly Ramsey received a beautiful yellow diamond engagement ring this week from the Olympic swimmer Adam Peaty. We're going to be looking at the latest trends with a diamond dealer to the stars, Neil Dutson.
And drinking wine to 5. Get
Very
it?
good.
Dolly Parton is the latest celeb to try and tackle the sparkling wine market in the UK. We'll be joined by the founder of Mouse and Grape, Jessica Summer, to share why celebs think they can crack the wine industry. It's all right. So I've made Ellie laugh. It's just one of those days today where I just can't pronounce anything. Mouse and grape. There we go.
I prefer mousse and grape, to be honest. Anyway, mousse and grape, we'll be talking about that a little bit later on.
I thought it sounded quite quintessential, sort of a mousse and a grape. That sounds like a nice dessert.
Mouse and grape. Anyway, you never know, they might change the name. I think it sounds better.
Anyone would think we'd already been on the Prosecco and sparkling wine at this rate.
We are going to be trying the Prosecco in about 50 minutes' time. But the Kylie Minogue Proseccos, this is what it's being pitted up against, this Dolly Parton rosé. They're meant to be very, very similar. All the celebrities are getting involved now in the sparkling wine. But does it taste nice?
We'll find out.
No, we're going to find out.
We'll find out in about 40 minutes' time. The booze will be flowing, and yeah, we'll see how we get on. What else is going on? I was about to say something else.
We've got a panel.
We've got a panel, all the top stories.
And Showbiz with Steph Tetchy as well.
That's it, that's the one. Foo Fighters. I'm a massive fan. Dave Grohl, the lead singer of Foo Fighters, has been a rather naughty boy. He came out on Instagram 2 days ago and said, I fathered a child with another woman. Sorry to my wife, sorry to my kids. And they're now not speaking to him. Who can blame them?
Yeah, let us know what you think of that story. gbnews.com/yoursay. But before we get into all of that action-packed hour, here's Sophie Reaper with all of your news headlines.
Thank you, Ellie. It's just after 11 o'clock. I'm Sophie Reaper, and these are your latest headlines. Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer met with President Joe Biden last night to discuss strategy and tactics regarding Ukraine and the Middle East. Meeting at the White House in Washington, D.C., the pair sat down for talks that Sir Keir described as long and productive. Speaking afterwards, the PM also said that he and the US President had reached a strong position regarding ending the conflict in Ukraine.
We've stood with Ukraine. Ukraine has a right to self-defence, and we've stood united, not just with our allies here in the US, but across with our NATO allies. That's very, very important to us. But today was about having the chance to talk not just about a particular step or tactic, but the strategy in relation to Ukraine. But also we covered the Middle East in some extensive detail and other areas across the world. So it was a really important occasion for us to have this chance to discuss with our allies.
Meanwhile, back on home soil now, more questions have been asked about the government's decision to cut winter fuel payments following a vote earlier this week. Figures released by the Department for Work and Pensions estimated that almost 800,000 pensioners will miss out on the benefit under the new plans. Of those set to lose the support, around two-thirds have a disability and 83% are aged 80 or over. Downing Street has said that a full impact assessment of the change has not yet taken place. Staying with politics now, and a rebellion could be brewing within the Labour Party following recent comments by the PM around a ban on smoking outdoors at pubs. Labour MP for Newcastle upon Tyne East and Wallsend, Mary Glindon, has tabled a motion in Parliament against her own party in order to try and block the potential plans. In the motion, she praised the indoor smoking ban of 2007, but said that extending the ban outdoors could unduly restrict individual liberty. Today is the first day of the Lib Dem party conference in Brighton, with the cost of living, defence and veterans, climate change and, crucially, their plan to fix the NHS as some of the topics on the agenda. The party won 72 seats in July's general election, their best ever result, and more than 6 times the number they took in 2019. Speaking from the conference earlier today, the deputy leader for the Scottish Liberal Democrats, Wendy Chamberlain, spoke about the need for parties to work together to tackle the broken NHS.
Without sorting social care, and we've been very clear that we are keen to work on a cross-party basis to solve it, because no matter what party is in power, social care as an issue is not going away. But if you don't sort social care, you're not going to fundamentally sort the problems within the NHS. Keir Starmer has said that fixing the NHS is a 10-year job. He won't be able to do that unless he keeps other parties on side so that we can all do that work together.
Later today, a rally is expected to take place in Glasgow, 10 years on from the Scottish independence referendum. Organised by Hope Over Fear, the event marks a decade since Scots took to the polls to vote on independence from the UK. The funeral of Olympic athlete Rebecca Cheptegei is taking place in her home country of Uganda this morning. The runner died earlier this month after she was doused with petrol and set alight by a former boyfriend. She'd recently returned from competing in the Paris Olympics when the attack took place. And today is the return of Strictly. The BBC show is back and celebrating its 20th year, but following a series of controversies, many will be watching to see how the show will handle allegations against some of the professional dancers. Just some of the famous faces appearing on the show this series include football pundit Paul Merson, singer Shane Ward and Olympic gold medalists Tom Dean and Sam Quek. Those are the latest GB News headlines for now. I'm Sophie Reaper. More from me in half an hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Thank you, Sophie Reaper. Great bulletins. Can't wait for a bit of mousse and grape coming up later today.
Yeah, very good.
Anyway, should we get on to more serious stuff? All of the day's top stories. We're joined by Danny Crates and Nicola McLean in the studio. Good morning to you both.
Morning. Morning, you two.
Thank you for joining us. What do you want to kick off with? What about Danny? Sven Eriksson, it was his funeral, of course, yesterday. Really sort of heart-wrenching scenes and poignant tributes, and the likes of David Beckham was there in Sweden. Fitting goodbye to who is remarkably, you know, a very great man and indeed a football manager.
I think that was one of the things that come across. The statements and the tributes were all about what a great man he was, sort of outside of what we know him for in football as well. But I think that's the sign of a great manager, a great coach. It's when the players retire or sadly someone passes away, you hear the impact they have on that person's life. It was the same for me with my athletics coach, who's sadly no longer with us. It's after you realise they're more than the manager or the coach. They have an impact on your life as well, and that's what creates that bond.
I was going to ask you about that relationship, because we saw David Beckham yesterday getting visibly emotional, saying goodbye to Sven Eriksson. But I think he was captain, while Sven Eriksson was manager, I think, for every single one of Beckham's games, bar 2. And it's such a close working relationship. It's almost like father and son, I'd imagine.
They would have, because they would have been within the management setup, working together for the great of the team, but also someone like David would have potentially been being mentored by Sven in the background as well. So you just have that bond. You don't always get on with people, right? But even sometimes when you don't get on with someone, you respect them. Yeah. Right? You respect them but you can see from the images when he had his hand on the coffin and the tears, it's, you know, that's real. It shows what it means to somebody, and it's those moments when you start reflecting about the impact they have on your life, I think.
Nicola, what did you make of the funeral yesterday? It must have meant a lot to the men in your household.
Yeah, it did, definitely. You know, speaking to my youngest about Sven and what he had done was poignant, definitely. And it was just so nice to see, as you say, David Beckham there just respecting his manager. And it's sad, isn't it? And he was so young. It's always sad when anyone goes. And the way, you know, his last words that I'm sure we all watched, it's just really sad. So it was nice. He got a nice send-off, which is, I'm sure, what he'd have wanted.
Yeah, such a beautiful doc. Was it on Amazon Prime, that documentary? Really sort of like, yeah, very touching. It showed his warmth and his character as a man. And as you said, his final words were very poignant indeed.
Yeah. Should we look at this story in The Guardian? I know both of you, you've both got kids, you've both got opinions on this one. This is a school academy chain, which is the first in England to ban mobile phones completely for kids in their schools. 35,000 pupils have been banned from smartphones during the school day. They said it's because it's had a catastrophic impact on their mental health and their learning. Danny, what do you make of this?
I think it's bold, but it's absolutely brilliant. It comes off the back of the government's recommendation that schools can, or the allowance that schools can. But this is one step further, and they're actually banning it now. I've got teenage boys, and trying to get them off devices, as anyone who's got teenagers will know, is difficult, and how consuming devices are. So I think if they start young with the devices, it's just a habit that's going to form, right? So try and break that habit now with them. And I know from teachers I've spoken to, some schools have tried, you know, embracing technology and saying, OK, let's use the devices throughout the lessons to enable them to further education. But it's not working because they're used for far more than Googling things that are important within a lesson. We know that the cyberbullying, the stuff that's going on with the pornography and things like that, it's a very, very dangerous minefield, and technology moves faster than we can keep up with it as human beings. So we just don't know how to work with it. So I think it is a brave, bold move, and I think hopefully it's one that other schools will follow.
Yeah, Nicola, we survived without phones in schools, didn't we?
Oh,
you don't need them.
We don't need them. My son's school actually have banned them completely. So they have a magnet pouch that they have to put it in at the start of the day, close it, and they can't open it. And the magnets are at the exit of the school, so they open it. And if they're caught on their phones, the phones go for a week. So they've been really strict about it. My son was absolutely fine with it. It was me that found that really, because I do text him during the day. I do. Yeah. So it was my cut-off. I was like, but what if I need you? And he was like, I've got my Apple Watch. I was like, good one. So he's still got the Apple Watch in case I need to get hold of him. But I quite agree, like, we don't need them. And I do think that in loads of ways, not even just the most serious stuff with mobile phones, just silly stuff like, Mum, I forgot my PE kit and I'm running it to school. He can't do that now, so he's going to have to be more responsible. So I do think it's a good thing across the board for them not to have their mobile phones, for sure.
And it is quite easy, isn't it, for people to criticise and just say, look, it's down to the parents. Parents should be tougher. Parents should take the phones away. You know, it shouldn't even have to get into the school and the school managing this situation. But it is difficult, isn't it, for parents? Not that I am one, but I can imagine actually prying it from their hands and also having any sort of control about what they're accessing. Well, I think... Because, as you say, you don't know, do you? With the dark web, with pornography, with all of these sites, you don't know what they're looking at.
And the thing is, they do need their phones because more parents are working, and they do need their phones for travelling to and from school and for safety. And it is hard to then monitor it. But I do think Brianna Jai's mum, Esther, she is campaigning for them to be smartphones for under 16s that are different to the ones that we have, that you can only access limited things on them. And I think obviously that's going to be hard to do, and the smart companies, it's going to take a long time. But if we can get there, that will be fantastic, because what children can access on these phones is scary.
Yeah, well, just get the old Nokias out, the old bricks, 3310s.
That's what we had,
yeah.
Bit of Snake.
I had the
That's
Flip.
what you could do, yeah.
The Flip Ericsson. Do you remember the pink one? I had that one. It was fantastic.
Mine have one of those little phones, just when they get in trouble, like with when the phone gets confiscated, they get given that. So
really?
That's it, yeah. And it's got my number in it, the school number in it,
Good idea.
and the grandparents. That's it.
That's all they need.
Weak punishment.
Wow.
It's a really good idea, actually. It does.
It
What do
is.
you think about that one? GBNews.com/your say.
There's also some nightclubs as well, which do the phone thing at the door. So they all the sort of revellers and the clubbers, they put their phones in a magnet box or a locker, And yeah, by the end of the night, no phones anywhere.
What sort of clubs are you going to?
Well, I haven't been to any for many, many years.
Very, very good question. And probably best we leave it there.
Yes.
Right, should we have a look at this story in The Sun? Prince Harry turns 40 tomorrow. Happy birthday, Prince Harry. He failed to mention his wife, Meghan Markle, in a message marking his birthday, and reports in The Sun that he's isolated in California. His only friend is his minder. It's quite sad, really, isn't it, Nicola?
It seems really sad because obviously we all knew and loved Harry for being fun-loving, for being the wild one. I mean, if you remember his antics in Vegas, this is what we want from him. Not the exact same antics, but we want him to be celebrating his 40th birthday in Vegas, having a wild time with his friends, but it doesn't seem like it's going to happen, does it? It seems like that, you know, it doesn't seem like he's happy and fun-loving. It seems like he's pretty miserable, and that is really sad. I know his wife provokes so much reaction in people, but actually it's just sad that he does seem really isolated.
Danny, this is a serious, as far as I'm concerned, a serious topic of conversation, because as blokes get older, I found your friendship group diminishes, people get sort of bogged down in their own lives and families, and eventually, unless you work hard to maintain those friendships or do hobbies or maybe even holidays with your mates, then you lose touch, and I guess that's why so many men get lonely, and of course male suicide is so high. I think it's a really serious issue.
It is, and I think, you know, I moved, you know, 20 minutes, half an hour from where I grew up, and even staying in contact with my friends is harder now, and I don't as much as I should do. So to move across the Atlantic is a big move, and it is going to be harder. And everything that he's gone throughout his life with the press and people around him and trust, it's not surprising that one of his closest confidants is going to be someone that he has probably chosen to be the one that's going to look after him, but he spends all his time with. So it's not surprising that is his friend. I don't find that sad. I find that probably normal. He's going to surround himself with people that he truly, honestly trusts. But it is difficult, and it is difficult when you move away and you can't even imagine what their world is like under that much scrutiny 24/7, to actually just lead normal lives, to make normal friendships.
So I've got a question for you.
Oh,
all of you, actually. You're scared.
What?
So apparently,
Put me on the spot.
Harry's planning apparently a lad's holiday away for his 40th.
Oh, yeah.
Would you let your man go on? Yeah.
That's
yeah.
fine.
Well, you say that, but
Really?
plenty of women. I mean, Nicola, what do you think? Are you happy with maybe your husband maybe once a year going on a week or 2 week trip? Abroad with his mates?
Tom loves...
Can't wait to get him out of the house.
Tom loves going away. He goes away all the time. Me, not so much. I would never go on a girls' holiday ever. But if Tom wants to, absolutely no problem.
What about you, Danny?
Yeah, well, with two teenagers and a 3-year-old, those chances are less and less nowadays. But I think it comes down to a relationship, right? If you trust each other, then... You know, I think the perception is a lad going away, it's going to be up to no good. But it's not, right? He's 40 now, right? So that's the other thing as well. The image of him is still as that young, free, like 20-something-year-old, but he's now a 40-year-old, or going to be tomorrow, with a family. So he's going to naturally have grown up, calmed down a little bit.
Yeah. Well, you're saying this, but you just mentioned the story, didn't you, about Dave Grohl?
Yes.
He's just fathered a child.
Yeah, well, yes.
Outside his marriage. They don't all grow up.
Yeah, not all men,
they don't have to be sort of like holidays to Magaluf down the strip. I like once a year, just me and my couple of closest friends would like to do something adventurous.
That's nice, you should do that.
Going to Japan next year to watch the Formula One. But I've got some friends of friends, not going to name names and dob you in it, but their partners they wouldn't let them go away for a week or 2 weeks with just a couple of mates. And I think it's really important for men. I think you need your space away from your family, away from your kids for a little while.
I think it doesn't matter if it's male or female. For me, I think it just all depends what you're like. I think that just because you're in a relationship, it doesn't mean that you should then have to stay at home if you don't want to stay at home. I like staying at home, but if Tom told me that I had to stay at home, I'd be partying in Vegas, let's be honest.
Do the total opposite.
Yeah.
Can we talk about Justin Timberlake, please? This is in the Daily Mail, many of the papers actually this morning. So he had been facing a criminal charge of driving while intoxicated. He was pulled over in the Hamptons. But he pled guilty yesterday to a reduced charge of driving with ability impaired. He's got something like a $300 fine, and he's got to do 25 hours of community service. Do you think he's got off lightly because he's a celebrity?
I think he's possibly got off lightly, but the laws are very different out there anyway, aren't they? They don't. I don't think they don't breath test them, do they? I don't think so. It's not. Is it? I don't think there's a like over here. If you're caught, right? You have a breath test. You have a roadside one, then you have either a blood test or breath test if you're taken into custody, and they know 100%. Whereas it's a little bit more. They can argue their case over there, but you read the report and the smell of the alcohol, the way he was driving, then it sounds like he was driving under the influence of alcohol, and that should be the sentence that is put down on him. But they will often be able to use that as and he did a statement, didn't he, afterwards, urging people to make better choices than he did.
Telling people to get an Ubers.
Yeah.
If they've had
Is it in Scotland
drink.
where you're not allowed even just one?
Not one,
drink?
yeah.
No trace.
I think that's probably a better idea, because then you can't get it twisted at all, can you?
Yeah, there's no grey area.
There's no grey area, just nothing at all. That would probably be the better idea.
Because at the moment it's always like, how much have you eaten? Was your meal big? How long has it been since your last drink, and so on?
It's so subjective, and it's body type as well, isn't it? It's how tall you are, how much
And
you
also,
weigh.
I don't know about you, but I mean, you can test it with the mousse and grapes in a minute. But you know, there might be a time where I have 2 glasses of wine and feel absolutely fine, and then there's another time I'll have 2 glasses of wine and Tom's like, yeah, you need to stop now. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it all depends your mood and everything, doesn't it?
It's very subjective, isn't it? Lee said about that, the better with me. One too many in the south of France, we'll just leave it there.
Oh, yeah. Getting on a vino.
It was a bit, yeah. Danny Crates, Nicola McLean, really good to see you both. Thank you so much for your company. Do stay with us. Still to come, we're going to be joined by Jessica Summer of Moose and Grape. She's going to be talking to us about the celebrity wine market, because Dolly Parton is in the mix now.
Yeah, we'll have some tasters as well.
Yeah, of course.
So no driving home.
No driving home.
Get a taxi.
No, just one for me.
But up next, we'll be joined in the studio by Neil Dutson. He's the diamond dealer to the stars. We'll be back in 3 minutes.
Mark Dolan tonight is your weekend dose of news, debate and entertainment.
This sounds like a wild conspiracy theory.
Don't miss My Big Opinion. Mark Meets and My Take at 10.
Democracy is a funny old thing.
And we don't do boring, not on my watch. I just won't have it.
Let's go and get another glass of that bubbly. You've earned it.
That's Mark Dolan tonight, Saturday and Sunday, 9 to 11, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Nana Queer, weekends from 3 p.m.
Angela, what have we got?
Hello, there's an awful lot, but I think the main interesting thing is that Prince Harry said a week or so, 2 weeks ago, I think it was, that he absolutely wasn't going to go to his uncle's funeral because there wasn't enough protection for him. His uncle, Lord Fellows, was married to Jane Spencer, who was Diana's sister, who was the most practical and helpful of the 3 children, the 3 girls, and she's done an awful lot for Harry. I thought it was just terrible. He wasn't going to go there, but he has been there. They didn't talk to William. William didn't talk to him. Did he get any protection? Who knows? And if he didn't, if he takes the government to court yet again, they would say, well, look, we managed without that, but we don't know about that. But also the paper, the magazine that does loads for Harry and Meghan, they were the ones who said he wasn't going, so they said what he wanted them to say.
He doesn't need any protection. I mean, how did he get there? Probably in a Bombardier private jet that gives off 60 times more carbon than anybody else.
Yes, well, we don't know about that. The good thing was that he was there, and of course today is Remembrance Day for Diana, the day she died. So that he went there and he was with her side of the family, and I think that that's very good and might help him feel a bit better about things.
But neither of them are doing well out of it. William is not doing well out of it. Harry is not doing well out of it. The King is not doing well out of it. Meghan Markle's not doing well out of it. Why can't they just...
No, I don't think it's that easy. I think that they might do much worse if they were together again.
GB News, the People's Channel.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently.
It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it?
It's explosive.
I mean, this is very good.
It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial.
And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born.
It's everything you need to kickstart your evening.
Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it.
That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Saturday Morning Live. We may be having the best morning of our lives because we're surrounded by diamonds. And the reason we're talking about this is because earlier this week, Olympic swimmer Adam Peaty finally proposed to his girlfriend, because I've been waiting for this, the daughter of Gordon Ramsay, with a gorgeous yellow diamond ring.
Yeah, so the demand for coloured diamonds in the last 10 years has soared by, guess how much, 77% between 2010 and 2019. Joining us now to tell us more about some of the hottest trends in the diamond world is dealer to the stars, Neil Dutson. Good morning, Neil. Morning, Ben. And I've got one of your exemplary examples. Look at this bad boy.
So that's a very rare Muso Colombian emerald. And it's alpine green translucent, so it's a really stunning
colour.
See
if we get a close-up.
So, yeah, so pretty impressive.
Can I be very crude and ask how much this is worth?
So value is £200,000.
How much, sorry?
£200,000. Now, the reason is its rarity. It's minor oiling. It's very, very, very pretty. The two diamonds on the side are D-colour, flawless diamonds, just to accentuate the setting.
Neil, how did you get into diamonds?
I studied diamonds in Antwerp. So Antwerp used to be the diamond capital of the world, really. Yeah. 85% of the world's diamonds go through Antwerp, or used to. And now Dubai has taken over. And yeah, I just went to a school there. I learnt about diamonds, and I just didn't want to be seen off in the future.
Neil, I'm very concerned I'm going to drop 200 grand's worth of diamonds into my cup of tea, so can I give that back to you?
Absolutely.
But I can hold one if you like.
Oh, well, I've got a lovely one here.
Thank you.
So this is a fancy vivid yellow. It's 8 carats.
This is my dream ring, just so you know, for this hand. This would be amazing. So what would I call this? A yellow?
So that's a natural fancy vivid yellow diamond. Value £300,000. So.
It fits
depends
like
where you're buying it from.
It fits like a glove, Neil. Maybe it's a sign. It's meant to be mine.
Definitely a sign, yeah.
Where do you want it? Here. 8 carats. What shape would we describe that
That's
as?
a radiant cut.
A radiant cut. Yeah. And it is radiant, and it fits so well.
Yeah, perfect.
Neil, what's the
almost like it should be mine.
What's the 5 C's?
4 C's.
Oh, 4.
Yeah, colour, cut, clarity, and carat.
Right.
Carat is your weight, cut is the shape. Clarity is visible or non-visible inclusions, and colour is the colour of the stone.
And Spencer Matthews, TV reality star, made in Chelsea and so on, he has described you as the Bear Grylls of diamonds.
Of the diamond world, he said.
What does that mean? Why are you with the Bear Grylls?
Oh, I think, well, slightly put on the spot. So I think, in my career, I have been back to source, so in parts of Africa and nasty parts of Africa, into the bush, sourcing uncut stones legally and ethically. And what's important is, getting immersed and involved within right down where diamonds are sourced, whether it's alluvial in riverbeds or in the rock face, etc. And learning every step of the way, right through to going on to Ellie's finger.
So you're not just sitting in your office in Mayfair and ordering things, you're getting stuck into it in, at source. And...
I wish I had an office in Mayfair.
Yeah.
No, I think it's being considerably down to earth in an industry which is very mysterious, very intriguing, very closed, and opening up, but not being not with the price tag of a sexy Bond Street.
We are showing some of your clients on the screen right now, Neil, because you have designed rings for some of the biggest stars in the UK. That's Sophie Habu and Jamie Lang there. You've also designed Vogue Williams' ring, haven't you, from Spencer Matthews. Which has been your favourite creation so far?
Emma and Matt Willis are great, a lovely pair, a lovely couple, and they've had a very simple signet ring made for Emma, which has their children's birthstones in it.
Oh, that's
so nice. It's kind of very personal. I love things like that. Jamie was great fun because we met in the backs of cars. We met in his kitchen, as you can see. We met on the street. We go for a walk because he wasn't drinking coffee and I did. And, just doing business with people in a covert way is quite fun. Literally pull my hood up and sit in a park and show Jamie diamonds. It's comedy. And then eventually we nailed it.
And you're a huge huge part of people's lives.
Massive,
Because
yeah.
rings are sentimental. They are the most important moments in a person's life, their engagement, their weddings, the birth of their children. And you're a part of that. You create those moments.
Absolutely. And it's so important to be understanding, but also make sure that they're there for life. You know, I don't want them just for one purchase, anybody. You know, it's there for life. And yes, of course, I am a big part of their lives, and it's fabulous. And I meet so many people. I love travel, love meeting people. I love rocks.
Yeah, me too. I should come and work with you, I think. I think that would be brilliant. And what do you think of Holly Ramsey? So I love this yellow diamond on my finger right now. Yellow diamonds are really hot right now. I feel like they've exploded in popularity, 77% in the past few years. What is it about yellow diamond, and is it true that they are just a lot rarer than the white colour?
Yellow diamonds are the next step up from white. So
see that.
The reason they're yellow is because the element of nitrogen would have got into the stone between 1 and 3 billion years ago, and therefore it creates the allure of the rarity. And yes, there are 17 hues of yellow within a yellow diamond, and you can have what's known as light, fancy light, right up to fancy vivid. You're wearing a vivid, so you're at the top of the tree there.
Oh, I feel like I'm at the top of the tree.
Yeah, and it's definitely a tree. You've
down.
climbed very well, and you can have that.
Oh, I'd love this. Yeah, I think that's a
opposite
lovely present. If you'd like to just leave it on my finger, that'd be really nice.
But yeah, yellow diamonds, coloured diamonds are rarer, and ultra rare are your purples, reds, pinks, oranges, greens, blues. You know, there are the different level, the Picassos of the diamond world as well.
What do you make of this rule? And it's a bit of an informal one. 3 months being spent on an engagement ring. Is that something that you did for Mrs. Leo?
I think I can't remember how much hers was. I'm not going to say. I can't remember.
Neil, what did you?
I think it's probably fair.
Yeah, you think that's about fair?
Yeah, it should be 12 months, shouldn't it?
That's what I
think. I think
2 years.
It started in the 50s with, I think, Ernest Oppenheimer at De Beers saying, this is your engagement ring and this is what you should spend. And I think then it was 1 month, 2 months salary. But there are no rules. It's down to affordability, and, you know, no one turns their nose up to it.
Well, talking of affordability, can you get affordable diamonds? And if so, what should you prioritise out of the 4 Cs? Should it be the carat? Should it be the colour? If people are on a budget, a more modest budget, what should they be looking for?
I'm a big believer in compromising on clarity and gaining on colour. So clarity, you can't see it with the naked eye unless it's a really dirty stone, and you shouldn't be shown that anyway. So you can have bang for buck and lower down in colour and clarity, or you can have very rare white and slightly smaller. And I prefer, you know, yesterday I advised someone on 2 emerald cut rings, and one was a 2 carat 53, one was a 2 carat, but one was a D and one was an H. And I said, let's go for the D, because it will produce legs over the next 10 years, because you'll want something much bigger and will stick with that colour, and I just think it's important.
And just briefly, I'm just so curious about the whole industry. Of course, you are fully above board, ethical, but there is a darker side to the diamond industry.
Sadly.
Why is it? I mean, what happens? Why is it so dark and so unethical? What happens at source?
I think the issue with the diamond industry is money laundering, and where one can walk through customs and various parts of the world with something that doesn't let alarms off and then trade it for a bit of money, or in the old days in Sierra Leone, for instance, with the RUC, it was a different product, right? You know, it was that and it was big gun things. And I think now the industry is extremely ethical. I'm a member of the London Diamond Bourse, which is the office is like a WeWork for London, but it's for diamond dealers. But to get in there, you've got to go through 6 interviews and be background checked, you know, until you're birthed, pretty much. So I only deal with the ethical tradable policies, and we have that policy in structure. But the sad thing is, there's always a dark side, whether it's watches, diamonds, paintings, wine. You know, there's always a dark side to it.
Yeah, even gold. I heard about some gold instances the other day of, long story short, but people smuggling gold in Cessnas across borders and so on.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's important to go with an ethical diamond dealer.
Definitely.
Do your research
Yeah.
and to know where your diamonds are from. Neil Dutson, an absolute honour.
You've got to take that off, by the way.
No, we'll be going to a break now. There's nothing to see here, Neil. You can just pack that up and head out the studio, but really good to see you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Bear Grylls of the diamond world.
Thank
Neil
you.
Dutson, thank you.
Good stuff. More to come on the show today, including Showbiz with Steph Tetchy. Dave Grohl from Foo Fighters has been a very naughty boy and fathering a child with another woman outside marriage. Tut tut. Maybe he needs to buy his missus a diamond ring to say
I
sorry.
think there needs to be a bit more than that. Let's have a look at the news headlines now, shall we, with Sophie Reaper.
Thank you, Ellie. It's just after 11:30. Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer met with President Joe Biden at the White House in the American capital last night. The pair sat down for strategy talks about global conflicts, which Sir Keir described as long and productive. Speaking afterwards, the PM also said that he and the US President had reached a strong position regarding ending the conflict in Ukraine.
We've stood with Ukraine. Ukraine has a right to self-defence, and we've stood united, not just with our allies here in the US, but across with our NATO allies. That's very, very important to us. But today was about having the chance to talk not just about a particular step or tactic, but the strategy in relation to Ukraine. But also we cover the Middle East in some extensive detail and other areas across the world. So it was a really important occasion for us to have this chance to discuss with our allies.
Meanwhile, the government is facing further backlash following its decision to cut winter fuel payments. Figures released by the Department for Work and Pensions estimated that almost 800,000 pensioners will miss out on the benefit under the new plans. Of those set to lose the support, around 2/3 have a disability and 83% are aged 80 or over. Downing Street has said that a full impact assessment of the change has not yet taken place. And there could be even more trouble on the way for the government following recent comments by the PM around a ban on smoking outdoors at pubs, but this time from a member of their own party. Labour MP for Newcastle upon Tyne East and Wallsend, Mary Glinden, has tabled a motion in Parliament against her own party in order to try and block the potential plans. In the motion, she praised the indoor smoking ban of 2007, but said that extending the ban outdoors could unduly restrict individual liberty. And today is the return of Strictly Come Dancing. The BBC show is back and celebrating its 20th year. But following a series of controversies, many will be watching to see how the show will handle allegations against some of the professional dancers. And those are your latest GB News headlines for now. I'm Sophie Reaper. More from me in half an hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Hello, good morning and welcome to your GB News weather update brought to you by the Met Office. Well, there's a bit of a split in the weather for Saturday, unsettled in the north, but elsewhere lots of fine and dry weather around, and it is going to be feeling warm where you catch the sunshine too. And the reason for this split in the weather is that we've got high pressure dominating the south, but low pressure in the north. And notice the squeeze in the isobars, which means some blustery conditions too. So in northern areas, Northern Ireland, western parts of Scotland, we've got this band of rain slowly edging its way eastwards with very blustery winds behind it and likely to see some heavier downpours on that band of rain too. But elsewhere, lots of fine, dry weather around, plenty of sunny spells, and as I say, feeling warm where you do catch the sunshine, particularly in the south and southeast. Now, as we head into the evening, we are going to continue to see that band of rain slowly move its way southeastwards across the country. So fairly cloudy with some damp weather around for Scotland. And as I say, those blustery winds continuing, particularly in the northwest where there is a risk of some coastal gales. Some cloudier conditions moving into the Scottish borders, but elsewhere, just before the sun goes down, plenty of late evening sunshine to end the day. But as soon as that sun goes down, it is going to be feeling chilly, particularly across the south, where we could see some spots of grass frost overnight. That band of rain is going to edge into northern areas, so cloudy and damp here, and eventually the winds are going to ease in the northwest, but plenty of blustery showers by the time we reach Sunday morning. So chilly in the south, as I say, there is a chance we could see some grass frost in rural spots, but generally milder to the north of that main band of rain. So for the second half of the weekend, we've essentially got three areas of weather. We've got plenty of sunny spells and showers moving their way into Scotland. These could be heavy with some hail and thunder at times. We've got a band of rain across the north, and in the south, still plenty of fine and dry weather, though likely a bit more cloud around compared to today.
I'm Christopher Hope. From pop stars to politicians, I'll interview anybody in a pub who's got a political opinion. Join me every Friday on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube or gbnews.com, or wherever you get your podcasts. This is GB News, the People's Channel.
The
GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akweer, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Saturday Morning Live with Ben and Ellie on GB News. Time now for your weekly dose of showbiz news, and we're delighted to have showbiz reporter Steph Tetchy with us for another week.
Good afternoon. Is it afternoon? No, morning.
Still morning.
Still morning.
20 minutes left of the morning. We need to talk about Dave Grohl, I think.
We do need to talk about Dave Grohl because what a bombshell. We know the rock star life comes with a lot of things, including a lot of women. But Dave Grohl's been happily married for 23 years now to a lovely woman called Jordan.
Woman.
Fabulous woman, Jordan Blum, who he has 3 daughters with. But this week he disappointed fans, and I do say disappointed, by admitting that he's fathered another child who was recently born, a girl. He put it in the Instagram post. The reason why most of these celebs come clean is because they know it's about to be made public knowledge. We don't know the full story. We don't know who this woman is. He says he does plan to be a supportive parent to this child and that he plans on being loving to her. But it's really bittersweet here. It's good to know that he does want to look after this child that he's had out of wedlock, but for his family, it's embarrassing. He's always been a proclaimed family man, so a lot of his fans are disappointed. I don't know if his wife is going to take him back because he's saying, I'm trying to regain her trust and my daughter's trust, so there's a lot there, and now you've got the whole world watching.
He says in that statement, as you said, I'm trying to regain their trust, but surely the trust has just exploded like a nuclear bomb.
You know, cheating's one thing, but having a baby as well with this person, whoever this woman is, it's a double blow for the wife and the children, the daughters. 2 of them had to deactivate their Instagram accounts because the pressure's just too much for that. And I just think Dave Grohl, over the years in interviews, he talks about how much he loves his family. Ellie, you're making me laugh with that face.
How does it leave, when you hear stories like that, how does it leave you and your opinion of men?
Well, I do think, so with this, I did think he's rock and roll, and that's it's not
surprising.
It's disappointing, but it's not a surprise.
55, going to be a father again. Not saying it's ever too late, but still. What do you think, Ben, as a married man,
what do you
family man?
Oh, dare I speak?
Yeah, you should.
Come on.
I just think, look, I've always said this, and this is going to sound maybe controversial, maybe not. I've always said...
What are you going to say?
Should I say it? I've always said, if you're going to cheat, I don't advocate it, obviously, but if you're going to cheat...
I know what you're going to say.
Do it not on your doorstep, abroad somewhere, you know, and not in a long-term relationship thing. If you need to... I don't know. If you need to do it, don't be so silly as to do it with someone in your vicinity. And definitely don't have a kid with them.
Like, one-night stand, I think maybe you can get over as a couple, but a whole baby? Like, that's
it's the emotional thing, isn't it? It's knowing that they've now got that connection for life, the emotional connection, they share another human being. It's kind of, it's not just...
And it affects the daughters as well, because then again, it's like your father has cheated on your mother. But I'm sure this is a situation worldwide people can relate to, but whether their marriage is going to stand this, I doubt it for some reason.
Oh, dear. Really, really tough. It's so hard for the family because it plays out, doesn't it, on the world stage? We're all talking about it, the media's talking about it, and it is distressing. But
he had to make it public, and I know in these kind of situations there's a reason why.
Let's talk about Strictly Come Dancing, shall we? It's back.
It's back tonight. 15 new contestants, but we know over the past few months the headlines have been about the show, about alleged misconduct, bullying. So all the negative headlines have been surpassing what is supposed to be a great anniversary season this year. But I think, you know, the BBC have put things in place this year. So the trainer, she would do really well.
She's a dancer, though, Steph.
I know.
I'm not sure if that should be allowed.
I think that might get changed soon. And I interviewed JB Gill from JLS. He's also going to be there. He's received a lot of criticism, but he was telling me earlier on this week at the NTAs, he was like, he can do, like, you know, music dancing, how he does on stage, but he says ballroom dancing is going to be new for him.
Oh,
So there's a different technique.
He was on the show a few weeks ago, wasn't he?
Getting back in.
Yeah, we should see how he does, but I am rooting for him. So I think it will be all eyes on this show. I think the ratings will still continue to be high this season, but we're just hoping for no negative headlines.
Lovely.
Let's hope so. And just very, very quickly, Justin Timberlake.
He looked like he wanted to cry me a river yesterday when he came out. He basically admitted to being guilty of driving while impaired. Initially was intoxicated, but he became all preachy and he said, if you're going to have one drink, call an Uber driver or call a friend to come pick you up. And I was like, Justin, take your own advice. Yeah. But you know what? He has learned he has to do community service now, 25 hours, and he's been charged $500.
Is that it? 25
hours?
That's
it. Yeah, that's it. But the thing is, his reputation has been tainted now. So, you know, he's got his driving licence has been suspended. So, you know, he's been made an example of, and hopefully he won't get behind the wheel anytime soon and drink and drive.
Well, let's hope so. But that message did make me laugh yesterday. Now, if you're going to have a drink, make sure you get an Uber.
Yeah.
We're not 16.
Or call a friend.
And neither are you.
That's like taking relationship advice from a, you know, 3-time divorcee.
Yes. Anyway, Steph, good to see you.
Thank you,
Thank
guys.
you very much.
Thanks, Steph. Still to come, maybe my favourite part of the show. We'll be sipping some of the best celeb wines with the founder of Mouse and Grape, with Jessica Summer.
I'm Bev Turner. Thank you for joining us on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Neil Oliver, every Sunday night at 6 p.m. on GB News. And if an hour is not nearly enough for you, go to gbnews.com for special extended episodes online every Friday at 9 p.m, where we can truly get into the nitty-gritty of what's going on. GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
But let's get stuck in. Prince Harry, he's consulted former aides about a possible partial return to the UK as he seeks to repair his public image, that is according to the Daily Mail.
Who wants him? I'm sorry. This is, of course, he's got his book Spare. The paperback comes out later this year. Now, he's not updating it, but he'll want to promote it.
Yeah, absolutely.
He says he's not doing any interviews, but we're talking about him now, we're talking about Spare.
Yeah.
And is he going to come back with his wife? What about the children? Because apparently it's not safe for his wife and children in this country, according to Harry, even though he took his wife to Colombia, which is much less safe than Britain, in my view.
It's absurd. And anyway, he was able to attend his uncle's funeral quite easily.
He did.
Nobody knew he was coming. He said he wasn't, and then he did. And he was perfectly safe.
And he would have had the same security as every other member of the royal family who attended that event.
Yeah.
But, of course, he didn't speak to his brother at the funeral.
No, he wouldn't, would he?
So if he's trying to fix it, honestly, a funeral is where you should put all differences aside because it's not about you, it's about respect to the person, the family of the person who's gone, which was his uncle. It was his... Diana's sister's husband had died. So, yet they didn't speak. They didn't speak in the church, they didn't speak when they left the church. Incredible, isn't it?
It's awful because that moment is when you realise that we are all mortal. And at that point, all other things should transcend that, but not...
Well, this move is being branded as Operation Bring Harry In From the Cold, because apparently he's a bit fed up with his life in Montecito. Does that mean with his wife?
I don't know.
Oh, no. Apparently he's dissatisfied with advice from his American-based image expert.
Well, they've had about 10 of them, haven't they? They're on to their number 11.
GB News, the People's Channel.
We're proud to be GB News, the People's Channel. And as you know, we always love to hear your views. Now, there's a new way of getting in touch with us at gbnews.com/yoursay. By commenting, you can be part of a live conversation and join our GB News community. You can even talk to me, Bev Turner, or any of the members of the GB News family.
I'm Isabel Webster. Thanks for joining us on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Saturday Morning Live. I think the best Saturday Morning Live. We have diamonds, we've had Mary from Selling Sunset, and now we've got wine. I mean, it's just the best morning ever.
Bit of booze.
Yeah, always good. Whether it's 9 till 5, Jolene, or Islands in the Stream, Dolly Parton fans are no stranger to her belting out the hits with a glass of wine in hand. And now they too can get in on the action. She has a Vino, a down-to-earth wine range, is on sale now in the UK.
Vino.
Vino. Oh, yeah, Vino. Did I say Vino? Vino. Vino. I've
already
been on it, clearly.
I've had a worse day. Moose and grape. It's actually mouse and grape. But look, why are celebs keen to crack the wine industry? To look at some of the hottest celeb trends now, we're joined by the founder of Mouse and Grape, not Moose and Grape, Jessica Sommer. And Steph Tetchy's with us as well, because she fancied getting a bit boozy before midday.
The aroma.
Yeah.
It kept me here.
You can't keep you away from the wine. And Jessica, you tried to source us a bottle of Dolly Parton's wine, didn't you?
And it was completely sold out, so I couldn't get it. But I'm sure they will be replenishing the stock soon, and that's exclusively with Asda.
But just a sign of how popular it is when the celebrities launch these wines.
Dolly is an icon, and she's got such an amazing following, and the same actually with all of the celebrity wines that we're going to be tasting today. It's a real marketing boom, but also a lot of these celebrities do have a genuine passion in wine, so it really comes out in, hopefully, the quality. I've not actually tried these, so I'm excited to taste them with you today.
Oh, well, you're getting on the action. Because it's being said in the press today and in the papers that Dolly Parton's being pitted against Kylie Minogue.
Yes.
Who has a wine range.
Yeah, and I mean, Kylie's wine range is just absolutely astronomical in terms of its popularity. And today I've brought with me the Kylie Prosecco, which is this one here. So you can see that it's got the beautiful hearts around it. So it's a really nice looking wine, but also hopefully it matches with the taste. And you can also get a rosé and a rosé sparkling with that too. So that is the wine that we're going to taste first, which is this one here for you, Ben, and then the lightest one. Yeah, exactly.
I'm actually very familiar with Kylie.
Oh, nice. Cheers, everyone. Yeah.
You need a glass.
Don't worry.
I tell you what,
What's this one, sorry?
So this is the Kylie Minogue Prosecco. So this one is on offer at the moment with Sainsbury's. So it's only £7. So.
Oh, is it? Very reasonable.
Wow.
Yeah.
You like that? Very good.
It's really nice.
Lovely, isn't it? It's light, really nice.
Yeah, really light.
Do you know whereabouts this is based?
So it's made in Italy, in the Prosecco region, which is Veneto, and it's with the Glera grape variety. And a little tip for Italian sparkling wines is when you see you've got the DOC label, DOC label here. So that basically indicates that it's a really good quality wine. And if it's DOCG, then it's even more regulation. So if you're looking for an Italian wine, that's a really good one to do.
Oh, Jessica, we need you in our lives.
So we think the Kylie one is we like that. Yeah, I like the Kylie one too. So the next one I want to talk about was the Gary one. So Gary went viral recently. I don't know if you saw. Yeah. Did you see that? Yeah. But and I think social media plays a huge part, doesn't it, in terms of the marketing of these wines, and the way that when we taste wines, if we do first like the smell and the aromas.
Okay, hang on.
Have you seen that meme of the guy who tastes wine on YouTube and Instagram?
No.
No, really elaborate. Anyway, long story. He sort of swirls it around.
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
Swirls it around his mouth.
Pungent.
It is, yeah. So when you're swirling the wine, what that does, Ben, you're right, it releases more of those aromas. And the thing that is also interesting about Gary's wine is that it's organic as well.
I was going to say that. How can you tell when you've got a good organic wine?
So it will tell you on the bottle, on the labelling, if it's organic. But also, how you can tell if you've got a good wine is basically if the wine is balanced. So if it's got nice acidity, it's got nice mouthfeel, and also those flavours, all in harmony, and also the alcohol. If something's out of kilter and say it's too acidic, then it won't taste very pleasant, and that's what the winemakers are trying to do.
And you were saying there was organic wine at the NTAs.
Well, Gary,
Yes,
with his wine.
I'm very familiar with this one.
Yeah, so
and what do you make of it?
I love it. It tastes very fruity, but not too fruity and not too acidic. So as you said, it's got the nice balance.
Yeah,
to
really
it.
nice. This would be a lovely food wine, and it's a Spanish grapes as well. So
I do prefer Kylie's to Gary's.
Do you?
I like Gary's.
Slightly sharper.
Yeah, I quite like Gary's. I mean, I think they're both actually very good. And I was
surprised. Surprised.
So they're made in collaboration with these very amazing vineyards in the first place. So the quality should be up there as a really good
quality.
And what
are we talking a bottle? Say for Kylie's.
So for Kylie's one, this was on offer. It's usually £9, but it's around £7. And then for Gary's, his is £12.
Oh.
So
It's
it's
more
slightly. No, it's not. Sorry, it's £8.
Oh, that's not bad.
Snoop Dogg. He is £12.
I know nothing about Snoop Dogg.
Neither did I.
What is going on?
When did this come out?
I know, it's the red. Cali Red, yeah.
Okay.
So I feel like Snoop Dogg seems to be popping up everywhere, doesn't he?
I feel like he just needs to retire. He always lingers
That's
around.
why he's making wine.
I know, I love it. And I think that it's just, he's clear, really, because it's got his face on it, why the demographic of people who would be wanting to drink the wine. But it's a mix between Syrah and Zinfandel. So it's supposed to be quite jammy, quite fruity.
It's jammy.
It's jammy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, straight on the nose, you can really smell black fruit.
I could drink that.
Pretty good.
What do you think?
Was this
Nice.
Obviously, this was made with a Californian grape.
Yeah, Californian grapes, yeah. And I opened this when I first arrived in the studio about an hour ago because you want this wine to air because that basically smooths those tannins.
Yeah, I love that. It's always good to give your wine room to breathe.
Yeah, I could very happily drink this as well. I've been impressed.
Thank you so much for bringing these in. They've been fantastic. And you can pick up Dolly's wine in Asda.
Yes.
They have it in stock because it wasn't
No.
this morning, was it? But Jessica Summer, really good to see you. Steph Tecci is always
Thank
really
you
good
for
to
the
have
wine
you in.
time.
And you're always welcome
Loved
to join us to drink wine anytime.
More than
and
happy.
Thank you so much for joining us on Saturday Morning Live today.
Don't go anywhere. Darren Grimes is next. Have a lovely weekend, and we'll see you same time next week.
So I didn't have the wine.
A brighter outlook with Box Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello, good morning and welcome to your GB News weather update brought to you by the Met Office. Well, there's a bit of a split in the weather for Saturday, unsettled in the north, but elsewhere lots of fine and dry weather around, and it is going to be feeling warm where you catch the sunshine too. And the reason for this split in the weather is that we've got high pressure dominating the south, but low pressure in the north. And notice the squeeze in the isobars, which means some blustery conditions too. So in northern areas, Northern Ireland, western parts of Scotland, we've got this band of rain slowly edging its way eastwards with very blustery winds behind it and likely to see some heavier downpours on that band of rain too. But elsewhere, lots of fine, dry weather around, plenty of sunny spells, and as I say, feeling warm where you do catch the sunshine, particularly in the south and southeast. Now, as we head into the evening, we are going to continue to see that band of rain slowly move its way southeastwards across the country. So fairly cloudy with some damp weather around for Scotland. And as I say, those blustery winds continuing, particularly in the northwest where there is a risk of some coastal gales. Some cloudier conditions moving into the Scottish borders, but elsewhere, just before the sun goes down, plenty of late evening sunshine to end the day. But as soon as that sun goes down, it is going to be feeling chilly, particularly across the south where we could see some spots of grass frost overnight. That band of rain is going to edge into northern areas, so cloudy and damp here, and eventually the winds are going to ease in the northwest, but plenty of blustery showers by the time we reach Sunday morning. So chilly in the south, as I say, there is a chance we could see some grass frost in rural spots, but generally milder to the north of that main band of rain. So for the second half of the weekend, we've essentially got three areas of weather. We've got plenty of sunny spells and showers moving their way into Scotland. These could be heavy with some hail and thunder at times. We've got a band of rain across the north, and in the south, still plenty of fine and dry weather, though likely a bit more cloud around compared to today.
Looks like things are heating up.